Welcome, darkness seekers and truth hunters, to the premiere of Heaven and Hellfire, True Crime and Real Monsters. I am the horror rock god. On this show, we stand directly on the divide between the divine and the pitch black. We examine the horrific crimes committed by everyday people and the monstrous mythologies they build to hide their human filth. We don't just ask what happened at the crime scene. We descend into the abyss to ask, were these predators born of human nature, or did something far darker take root? Tonight, we pit heaven against hellfire for our inaugural deep dive. We open the vault on a killer who wasn't content hunting in secret. He didn't just want blood. He begged for an altar. He demanded the spotlight, held an entire state hostage, and weaponized mass media into his personal theater of horror. Tonight's case, the Zodiac Killer.
In the quiet of the night, where the shadow meets the light, there's a killer in the dark, slipping silently out of sight.
Is it human? Is it myth? Is it born inside the mind?
Or the cruelest kind of monster that the dark could ever find? The dark hides the violent lies,
Feeding off the fear.
the evidence brings the cold hard
Light, making every detail clear.
where the myth meets the blood.
And the truth takes hold.
Truth takes hold.
Welcome to heaven and hellfire.
Welcome to heaven and hellfire,
Welcome to heaven and hellfire.
where the myth meets the blood.
Welcome to heaven and hellfire.
And the truth takes hold.
Imagine Northern California in the late 1960s. The summer of love is giving way to a suffocating fog of paranoia. Couples parked on quiet, dark lovers' lanes under the stars think they are alone. But out in the gravel, footsteps approach. A beam of light blinding the windshield. A gun drawn. Most serial killers run from the light because their greatest fear is identification. But the Zodiac was different. He was a theatrical predator who wore a custom-stitched executioner's hood, complete with clip-on sunglasses and a crossed circle crosshair stitched in white thread over his chest. He executed young lovers, signed his bloody work directly onto victim vehicles, and phoned police dispatchers to brag about his body count in a calm, flat monotone. He didn't stop at the triggers he pulled. He hijacked the press, mailing cryptograms, cipher keys, and swatches of blood-soaked shirts from his dead victims directly to newsrooms. He threatened to blow up school buses full of children if front pages weren't dedicated to his cryptic symbols. He claimed he was collecting slaves for the afterlife, in a demonic paradise. He constructed a 50-year enigma that stumped the FBI, CIA, and NSA. But behind the cryptograms and the executioner's hood, was he truly an evil genius? Or was he a sloppy, opportunistic coward who got unbelievably lucky with police dispatch errors? Tonight, we untangle the self-made monster from the pathetic man behind the mask. Turn down the lights, lock your doors, and prepare yourselves as we step into the mind of the cipher monster. Let's step into the darkness of late 1968, Northern California. The San Francisco Bay Area is gripped by a cultural revolution, but on the outskirts, along quiet, unlit lovers' lanes, a violent shadow is waiting in the high grass. The bloody campaign begins on December 20th, 1968, along Lake Herman Road near Benicia. High school students David Faraday, 17, and Betty Lou Jensen, 16, are on their very first official date. Around 10:15 p.m., David parks his mother's Rambler station wagon in a gravel turnout known as a popular local spot for teenagers. It's a bitter cold night, isolated, pitch black. The kind of silence where every crack of a twig feels magnified. At approximately 11 p.m., another vehicle pulls into the turnout and parks right beside them. A man steps out carrying a .22 caliber handgun. When David and Betty Lou refuse to get out of the Rambler, the killer escalates immediately. He fires into the rear window, then shoots out the right rear tire to force them into the open. Panic sets in. Betty Lou scrambles out of the passenger door first, with David right behind her. But the killer doesn't hesitate. He shoots David point blank in the head, right beside the car. As Betty Lou runs for her life into the gravel, he fires 5 rounds into her back. Both teenagers are dead before emergency responders arrive. And forensically, what stands out right away is the brutal efficiency. No sexual assault, no robbery, no sign of a struggle, and 0 shell casings recovered at the scene from the gravel because he used a standard revolver or carefully collected them. 7 months pass. The community begins to breathe again, thinking Lake Herman Road was an isolated tragedy. Then came July 4th, 1969. Just 4 miles away at Blue Rock Springs Park in Vallejo, Darlene Ferrin, 22, and Michael Majot, 19, parked Darlene's Corvair near the dark edge of the park around midnight. A car pulls up behind them, idling in the dark. It drives away, only to return 5 minutes later, parking directly behind them to block their vehicle. The driver steps out carrying a heavy flashlight. Michael later told investigators he pulled out his wallet, believing it was a plainclothes police officer asking for ID. Instead, the man walks right up to the open passenger window, raises a 9mm pistol, and opens fire without saying a single word. 5 shots hit both Michael and Darlene in rapid succession. Michael screams in agony, tumbling into the back seat. The killer starts walking calmly back to his vehicle. But when he hears Michael groaning in the dark, he turns around, walks back up to the Corvair, and fires 4 more rounds directly into both victims at point-blank range. That second approach proves this wasn't just a panic fire. It was methodical execution. Darlene dies on arrival at the hospital, but Michael miraculously survives. He gives police our very first physical profile. A white male, stocky, heavyset, around 5 feet 8 inches to 5 feet 10 inches. Short brown curly hair, around 195 pounds. But 40 minutes after the shooting, at 12:40 a.m., the killer does something that elevates him from a street murderer into a national nightmare. He walks to a public payphone at the corner of Springs and Tuolumne Road, right near the police station, and dials the Vallejo Police Department. Dispatcher Nancy Slover picks up the line. The caller speaks in a monotone, unhurried, almost robotic voice, reading as if from a script. "I want to report a double murder. If you will go 1 mile east on Columbus Parkway to a park, you will find kids in a brown car. They were shot with a 9mm Luger. I also killed those kids last year. Goodbye." With those words, he tied his crimes together. He wanted total ownership of the terror. 2 months later, on September 27, 1969, the killer moves from darkness into broad daylight. It's a sunny Saturday afternoon at Lake Berryessa in Napa County. Brian Hartnell, 20, and Cecilia Shepard, 22, are picnicking on a secluded peninsula jutting into the water. Around 6:15 p.m., Cecilia notices a figure lurking behind a nearby oak tree. When he steps out into the sunlight, he doesn't look like a burglar or a mugger. He looks like an executioner pulled straight out of the Dark Ages. He is wearing a custom hand-stitched square black executioner's hood that drapes over his chest down to his waist. Eye slits cut out and framed by clip-on sunglasses. Stitched directly onto the center of his chest in bright white thread is a 3-inch by 3-inch circle with a crosshair through it, the symbol that would haunt the nation. He holds a gun in his hand, a long wooden sheath with a foot-long bayonet knife hanging from his hip. He tells them in that same flat, calm voice that he has escaped from a prison in Colorado, killed a guard, and needs their money and car to drive to Mexico. He forces Cecilia to tie Brian up with pre-cut plastic clothesline, then ties Cecilia himself. Brian tries to talk to him, asking about his gun, trying to keep him calm. But the killer doesn't care about the money or the car. Once they are bound and helpless face down on the blanket, he draws the foot-long bayonet. He drops to his knees. Without a sound, he stabs Brian 6 times in the back, then turns to Cecilia, stabbing her 10 times as she screams and rattles on the ground. Cecilia tragically slips into a coma and dies 2 days later. But Brian survives to describe the horrific hood and the cold precision of the attack. After leaving them for dead, the killer walks half a mile back to Brian's Volkswagen Carmen Ghia. He pulls out a black felt-tip pen and writes directly onto the door of the car, Vallejo / December 20th, 68 / July 4th, 69 / September 27th, 69 - 6:30 / by car. He signed the vehicle like an artist signing a canvas. Then at 7:40 p.m., he calls the Napa Police Department from a payphone on Main Street to report his own crime. 2 weeks later, October 11th, 1969, he changes his environment entirely. He leaves the isolated lakes and suburbs and brings the violence into the heart of San Francisco. At 9:55 p.m., he hails a yellow cab driven by 29-year-old Paul Stein in downtown San Francisco, asking to be taken to Washington and Maple Streets in the wealthy Presidio Heights neighborhood. Stein drives 1 block past Maple to Washington and Cherry. As the cab stops, the passenger produces a 9mm pistol, shoots Stein once behind the right ear, and takes his wallet and glasses. But he doesn't just rob him. He pulls out a razor blade, grabs Stein's head, and tears off a massive swatch of Stein's blood-drenched shirt. 3 teenagers watching from a second-story window across the street call 911 immediately, describing a white male wiping down the interior and exterior of the cab. But the San Francisco police dispatcher makes a catastrophic, historic error. The broadcast mistakenly describes the suspect as an African-American male. Officers Don Fook and Eric Zelms are patrolling nearby. As they drive down Jackson Street, they pass a heavy-set white man walking calmly away from the scene, heading toward the dark trails of the Presidio Park. Because of the dispatch error, they don't stop him. By the time the description is corrected, the killer has vanished into the shadows of the military reservation. It was the closest law enforcement ever came to catching him in the act. If the murders terrorized the Bay Area, the letters terrorized the world. Starting in August 1969, the killer begins sending handwritten letters to the San Francisco Chronicle, the Vallejo Times-Herald, and San Francisco Examiner. Each letter contains precise details about the Lake Herman Road and Blue Rock Springs attacks that only the killer could know. Ballistics, brand of ammo, position of the bodies. And folded inside each letter was 1/3 of a 408-symbol cryptogram, now known as the Z408 cipher. He issues a direct ultimatum to the press. Print his cipher on the front page of every newspaper by Friday afternoon, or he will go on a weekend murder spree. If you do not print this cipher, I will go on a kill rampage Sunday night. I will cruise around all weekend killing lone people in the dark, then move on until I kill 12 people this weekend. The newspapers gave in. The cryptograms were printed. Entire cities went into lockdown. Parents kept children inside. School buses were given armed police escorts, and thousands of amateur code breakers began working around the clock. The Z408 cipher was cracked within days by an ordinary high school teacher named Donald Harden and his wife Betty. When decoded, it revealed the twisted manifesto of a man fed on pop culture and dark narcissism. I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest, because man is the most dangerous animal of all. When I die, I will be reborn in paradise, and all the I have killed will become my slaves. Then came November 1969. He sends a second major cipher, the Z340 cipher, along with a piece of Paul Stein's bloody shirt to prove his identity. That code stumped the FBI, CIA, NSA, and cryptographers worldwide for 51 long years. until an international team solved it in December 2020. The decoded Z340 message showed him mocking the public panic. "I hope you're having lots of fun in trying to catch me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner." Over 2,500 men were investigated over 5 decades. Let's address the most famous suspect in true crime history, Arthur Lee Allen. Allen was an elementary school teacher, convicted child molester, and Navy veteran who lived in Vallejo. The circumstantial case against him looked staggering. He owned a Zodiac brand watch featuring the crosshair symbol, wore the same size wing-walker boots used at Lake Berryessa, possessed a print of The Most Dangerous Game, and reportedly told a friend he wanted to kill young couples, taunt police, and sign letters with a crosshair. Investigators thought they had their man, but when the physical evidence came back, the case against Allen collapsed. Forensically, Arthur Lee Allen was ruled out repeatedly. Fingerprints. None of Allen's prints matched the latent prints retrieved from Paul Stein's cab or the public payphones. Handwriting. Document examiners compared Allen's handwriting to the Zodiac letters and concluded definitively that he did not write them. DNA. In 2002, San Francisco police extracted a partial DNA profile from under the postage stamps on the Zodiac letters. Allen's DNA was an absolute mismatch. There were other popular suspect names that keep popping up on internet forums: Lawrence Kane, Richard Gaikowski, or the recent claims regarding Gary Francis Post. But they all suffer from the exact same flaw: zero forensic tie-in. No weapon match, no handwriting match, no fingerprint match, and no DNA match. Much of the suspicion around these men relies on confirmation bias and selective timelines built by amateur investigators. The Zodiac didn't just haunt real streets. He reshaped media and cinema forever. In 1971, while the real killer was still actively mailing threats, Clint Eastwood starred in Dirty Harry. The villain, Scorpio, was directly modeled on the Zodiac, right down to terrorizing a yellow school bus full of children and taunting police through ransom demands. In 2007, director David Fincher released Zodiac, taking a completely different angle. Instead of sensationalizing the violence, Fincher focused on the crushing mental toll and obsession that ruined the lives of lead investigator Dave Toschi and cartoonist Robert Graysmith. Look at modern blockbusters like Matt Reeves' The Batman, 2022. Paul Dano's performance as the Riddler uses the exact same combat mask, green surplus jacket, block letter ciphers, and video manifestos inspired directly by the Zodiac's letters and Lake Berryessa disguise. Beyond Dirty Harry, David Fincher's Zodiac, and The Batman, the Zodiac killer's lingering presence, cryptic codes, and theatrical persona have bled heavily into movies, television, music, video games, and comic books. Here is a breakdown of how the Zodiac has permeated pop culture. Film and television. The Zodiac Killer, 1971. Directed by Tom Hansen, this low-budget B-movie was made while the real killer was still actively mailing letters. Hansen notoriously screened the film in San Francisco movie theaters with a trap set in the lobby, including a motorcycle raffle and card giveaways, in a bizarre attempt to catch the actual killer in the audience. Exorcist III, 1990. The primary villain, the Gemini Killer, played by Brad Dourif, is directly inspired by the Zodiac. He leaves behind cryptic messages, cut-up bodies, and taunts authorities in a manner almost identical to the Bay Area Killer. 7, 1995. While the murder motives are based on the 7 deadly sins, David Fincher used the Zodiac's real-life cipher letters and cryptic journals as direct visual inspiration for John Doe's handwritten notebooks and clues left at crime scenes. Criminal Minds TV series. In Season 1, Episode 18, Somebody's Watching, the team faces a copycat targeting young Hollywood actors while leaving behind Zodiac-style cryptograms. In Season 7, Episode 11, True Genius, the BAU investigates an obsessed copycat killer in San Francisco who uses the Zodiac's exact encryption methods and target profiles. American Horror Story Hotel, Season 5. The Zodiac appears as a character in the famous Devil's Night episode, sitting at a dinner table alongside other historical killers like Jeffrey Dahmer, Eileen Wuornos, and John Wayne Gacy, wearing his iconic Lake Berryessa executioner's hood. Video games that took inspiration. Watch Dogs 2, 2016. Set in the San Francisco Bay Area, the game features a dedicated side mission chain called the Zodiac Killer Mission. Players hunt down a copycat who leaves coded messages and bodies around real-life locations in Vallejo, Oakland, and San Francisco. Manhunt 2, 2007. Features a character and thematic elements based on encrypted serial killers and subterranean urban legends inspired by the Zodiac case file. Fallout New Vegas and Dead by Daylight, mods/lore references. Numerous survival and horror games reference Zodiac cipher motifs, crosshair symbols, and letter-writing tropes in their environmental lore and collectible notes. Then you have the music and audio culture macabre. Zodiac. The heavy metal band released an entire track detailing the Lake Herman Road and Lake Berryessa timeline, converting police report details into lyrics. Camelot. The Zodiac. The power metal band features a track from the perspective of the killer, highlighting his obsession with cryptograms and media fame. Gunna/hip-hop imagery. The crosshair symbol and block text aesthetic have frequently been adapted in album art, stage production graphics, and underground hip-hop aesthetics. For example, MF Doom and graphic design tropes referencing anonymous villainy. The Gemini and Zodiac cipher samples. Dozens of industrial, synthwave, and darkwave artists use processed audio samples of Nancy Slover, the Vallejo police dispatcher, and news broadcasts covering the 1969 letter drops. And finally, we have comics and graphic novels. Gotham by Gaslight and Batman comics. Batman storylines frequently pit the Dark Knight against cipher-obsessed villains beyond the Riddler, including story arcs where Batman must crack substitution ciphers before a countdown expires. The Killer Inside Me/crime noir graphic novels. Independent crime comics regularly utilize the block letter handwriting style, 3-part cryptograms, and executioner masks to visually signal an elusive, theatrical antagonist. But what famous and popular theories are out there? Let's take a look. When an investigation spans over half a century without a handcuffs-on conviction, the vacuum gets filled with wild, obscure, and deeply unsettling theories. Take the Unabomber connection. In the late 1990s, conspiracy theorists and even a few retired investigators started lining up Ted Kaczynski right next to the Zodiac. Both operated in Northern California around the same time frame. Both held a burning hatred for modern society. Both mailed cryptograms, terrorized public infrastructure, and made threats involving homemade bombs. Was Kaczynski warming up his dark craft before retreating into his Montana cabin? Forensically, it falls apart. Kaczynski's handwriting, bomb designs, and fingerprints never matched the Zodiac's, and he was living in Illinois and Utah during key Bay Area attack dates. But the structural parallels still keep amateur sleuths up at night. And then you have the Manson family theory. Some investigators pointed to Bruce Davis, a core member of Charles Manson's inner circle, who was in Northern California during the 1968 and 1969 murders. Davis fits the physical build, had a violent record, and vanished into the shadows right as the letters tapered off. But again, zero forensic overlap. Fingerprints and handwriting exclude Davis entirely. But if you want to go down the most radical rabbit hole in true crime history, look at the hoax/multi-killer hypothesis championed by researcher Thomas Horan. This theory suggests that there was no single Zodiac killer at all. Think about that for a second. The hypothesis claims Lake Herman Road, Blue Rock Springs, Lake Berryessa, and Presidio Heights were all completely unrelated murders committed by different men for different motives. The Zodiac persona was supposedly manufactured after the fact by a crooked journalist or a lone opportunistic letter writer who capitalized on police leaks, obtained primary details, forged the cryptograms, and bought a piece of Paul Stein's shirt off an insider to create the illusion of an invincible, omnipresent supervillain. Is it hard to believe? Absolutely. But it highlights the exact horror of this case. The Zodiac's real power wasn't just the triggers he pulled. It was the psychological web he spun over the entire world. While police officially attribute 7 victims, 5 murders, and 2 survivors, the Zodiac claimed 37 victims in his final correspondence. That brings us to what investigators call the ghost victims. Take the case of Sherry Jo Bates in Riverside, California, 1966. An 18-year-old college student whose ignition wires were deliberately cut. After her brutal murder, local newspapers received eerie typed letters with the chilling line, "She was not the first, and she will not be the last." It predated the Zodiac persona by 2 years, yet the phrasing and block writing had alarming similarities. Then there's Kathleen Johns in Modesto, March 1970. A pregnant mother driving with her infant daughter when a stranger pulled alongside her, pointing out that her back wheel was loose. After offering to tighten her lug nuts, he actually loosened them, disabling her car. He offered her a ride, then drove aimlessly for hours, telling her, "Before I kill you, I'm going to throw your baby out the window." She jumped from the moving car with her baby into an irrigation ditch. Months later, the Zodiac mailed a letter claiming full credit for her abduction. And Donna Lass, a 25-year-old nurse who vanished from a Lake Tahoe casino in September 1970. Months after her disappearance, the San Francisco Chronicle received a postcard depicting Lake Tahoe with the words, "Sought Victim 12." Beyond the ghost victims, we have the ciphers that still defy modern mathematics. First, the Z13, "My Name Is," a 13-character code sent in April 1970 that begins with "My name is," followed by 13 encrypted symbols. Because 13 characters is far too short for standard frequency analysis, it remains mathematically uncrackable without a cipher key. And second, the Z32, sent alongside a Bay Area road map where he claimed the map, coupled with magnetic north and radians, revealed the location of a buried school bus bomb. Let's look at the physical evidence left behind. The size 10.5 military-issue Wingwalker boot impressions pressed deep into the shoreline mud at Lake Berryessa. The 1970 Halloween card sent to reporter Paul Avery, featuring a skeleton and 14 eyes drawn on paper with the words, "Peekaboo, you're doomed." Or the bizarre October 1969 incident where a man claiming to be the Zodiac called in live to the AM San Francisco television show, speaking directly with attorney F. Lee Bailey and screaming that he had terrible headaches and didn't want to go to the gas chamber. Police traced the call to a mental institution patient named Eric Weil, but it threw the entire state into a state of panic. So what about modern technology? Can 21st century science finally catch a 1960s shadow? In 2018, following the capture of the Golden State Killer via investigative genetic genealogy, Vallejo and San Francisco police submitted preserved envelopes and stamped saliva samples from the original Zodiac letters to private labs. They are actively hunting for a full touch DNA and SNP profile. And in December 2020, an international team of private code breakers, David Oranchak, Sam Blake, and Jarl Van Eyck, used custom supercomputer software to finally crack the 51-year-old Z340 cipher, proving once and for all that the code was genuine, even if it yielded no real name. And what about the recent flood of suspect headlines? What about Paul Dorr, the naval shipyard worker and cryptographer? Or Gary Francis Post, pushed by a private group called the Case Breakers in 2021. The Case Breakers generated massive viral media buzz, claiming scars on Post's forehead matched forehead lines in the 1969 police sketch. But the FBI and San Francisco Police Department issued immediate statements confirming the case remains open and unsolved, noting that Post's DNA, fingerprints, and timeline failed to yield a single verifiable match. The same goes for Paul Dorr and Ross Sullivan, intriguing circumstantial stories, but completely void of forensic proof. We're going to take a short music break right now, digest the codes, weigh the evidence, and stare into the shadows for a moment. We'll be right back to close out the final file on the Cipher Monster.
on a letter. I sent you a puzzle, but it won't make you feel better. A cipher in blood on the side of the road, a cryptogram carrying a heavy dark load. I'm watching the headlights cut through the night, a couple in a car frozen still in the light. You think that you know me, you think that you're safe. I'm the nightmare you'll never erase, and I'm bleeding out my twisted mind, leaving all your tragic lives behind. I am the Zodiac, I own the dark, and I am tearing your soul apart. Love and fear are the same to me, in the shadow of my killing spree. I'm tearing your soul apart. By the shore of Lake Berryessa, in the autumn chill, wearing a black hood, standing on the hill, crosshairs on my chest, a gun in my hand, a nightmare walking across your land. You beg for mercy, you cried for your life, bound by the rope, waiting for the knife. The police are searching, but they're blind to the sign. Every bloody clue that I leave is mine, and I'm bleeding out my twisted mind, leaving all your tragic lives behind. I am the Zodiac, I own the dark, and I am tearing your soul apart. Love and fear are the same to me, in the shadow of my killing spree. Tearing your soul apart. Do you see the symbol drawn in blue? A circle and a cross come straight for you. I'll shoot the bus, I'll take the cab, count everybody on the coroner's slab. You'll never get my name, you'll never catch my face. I'm a ghost haunting this forgotten place, haunting this place. And I'm bleeding out my twisted mind, leaving all your tragic lives behind. I am the Zodiac, I own the dark, and I am tearing your soul apart. Love and fear are the same to me, in the shadow of my killing spree. I'm tearing your soul apart, tearing you apart. You'll never know my name. I am in the shadows, tearing you apart.
Welcome back. That killer track you just heard was Tearing Your Soul Apart by Studio 3117. And that officially brings us to the end of our premiere episode. The Zodiac managed to escape the handcuffs, but he couldn't escape history. When you strip away the cryptograms, the executioner's hood, and the 50 years of urban legend, you aren't left with an invincible mastermind. You're left with a cold, cowardly murderer who got extraordinarily lucky. That is the ultimate mission of Heaven and Hellfire. To take the monsters elevated by pop culture, drag them out of the shadows, and shine the cold light of truth on who they really were. If you want to dig even deeper into the macabre, check out ghostfacehorror.com. Over at ghostfacehorror.com, we dive headfirst into all things horror, from deep-dive true crime articles, killer profiles, and dark history breakdowns, to horror movie reviews, indie music features, and exclusive show updates. It's the ultimate digital sanctuary for lovers of horror and dark culture. Thank you for joining me for Episode 1 of Heaven and Hellfire, True Crime and Real Monsters. Make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share the show with your fellow darkness seekers. Until next time, lock your doors, keep an eye on the lovers' lanes, and remember, the real monsters walk among us.
You've been listening to Heaven and Hellfire, True Crime and Real Monsters. This production is proudly presented by GhostfaceHorror.com. For more unmasked myths, horror reviews, and cold, hard truths, step into the darkness at GhostfaceHorror.com. Remember, the real monsters always walk among us.